top of his group, and this is actually the winner's match, guys. Winner of this series will go through. And let's introduce our first player in the bottom left. From America, this is Ting's Neeb.
And his opponent in the upper right, in the red, the three-time GSL Code S champion, he is Maru.
Well, we have got ourselves a three-time WCS 2017 champion against a three-time GSL champion 2018. A lot of trophies. There is that proxy from Maru.
Yeah, okay, I can't say that we should be surprised, so let's go ahead and just unpack this whole proxy style in 2018, because I know we have people that occasionally are joining us just for the tail end, the climax of StarCraft 2 at the WCS finals here. So a lot of you might look at proxies and say to yourself, oh, well, this is risky, it's cheesy in a sense, and it's a double-edged sword. If I do this and it doesn't work out, I can be punished. Maru has actually broken that rule. He's making us reevaluate what we know about RTS theories. So there's a lot of different proxies, and he's making this one, the barracks down here, just adjacent to the main here for Neeb. Neeb does scout. He does see two gases, so he knows it's not a double barracks or anything like that.
No, he knows it's going to be a Reaper and probably a fast factory as well. The real question is Maru going to build that factory on the other side of the map, or is he going to build it to finish off this wall in? The factory is sometimes actually built in a completely different spot, and Neeb is actually looking like he wants to fight fire with fire here.
I really like this because he's forcing Maru to play his own game. Generally speaking, to these players, when they would identify that a proxy was coming, especially from a player like Maru, but in general too, you stay back, you brace for impact, you defend, you stabilize, you out-expand them and out-tech them, and from there you take a lead. In this game, Neeb says, let's actually mix it up a little bit. If you're going to attack me and have tech outside, I'm going to do the same thing for you. But first, Neeb has to hold off this Reaper.
Well, luckily for Neeb, I guess luckily for Maru, rather, there's going to be a Cyclone back at home. He did not put that factory on the other side of the map. This proxy Oracle would really punish a player going for a proxy like this because there is absolutely no defense for it. This Reaper only finding a couple probe kills. Neeb just really waiting for that Stalker to come out. He's got that Zealot working on this Engineering Bay, blocking his natural Nexus.
Now, I got to point something out. If we can get another shot of that Engineering Bay, that Engineering Bay is there to deny the Nexus. So there's a chance Maru's assuming that there's been enough banked up minerals that Neeb's been slowed down. Neeb hasn't been slowed down at all because he's tacking into this Stargate that's going to blindside Maru into his main.
And also, Maru is getting a reactor on his factory right now. So yes, he can produce two Cyclones at once it's finished, but it takes so long to finish. If Neeb dumps a Chrono Boost into this Stargate, he's going to have a couple of Oracles out that are potentially going to do a lot of damage. The Reaper of Maru sees the proxy here.
Okay, he spots it. He knows exactly what's coming now. Let's see if Maru can react or try to deflect as much as possible. The first Nexus is going to go down here for Neeb. Maru has not expanded just yet. He's making that command center on the high ground, and he'll have to land that over to his natural shortly.
Well, Neeb didn't dump a Chrono into that starport, so the Oracle's going to come out. Maru will have Widow Mines out just in time here. He's also getting a Viking just to be safe. The Oracle is running on through. He's got to avoid these mines.
Oh, Widow Mines are out. Oh, he does not quite snipe the SCV, making the command center. The Oracle's trying to rotate up here. Bruising is not enough on these SCVs. Now takes out two. Looks like he could get a third. And very craftily, it looks like Maru's going to zone Neeb out as his Vikings out.
Very nice defense there from Maru. Neeb getting a couple SCVs. You know, the Oracle's been changed, so it's 3 shots SCVs instead of 2 shots as of earlier last year. And now, as a result, you know, Maru takes very little damage there. He's getting Cyclones out, and this Stargate's going to get shut down here. He's got the Viking parked on top of it. He's going to get that Reaper, but these Oracles going to need to go home and bank up a bit more energy for later in the game as that Viking patrols the skies.
Okay, Widow Mines now beginning to surround this Stargate. I think Neeb's already identified he probably won't need to produce any more out of that. So eventually Maru would try to close in on that. Neeb might even try to utilize the fact that there's a Stargate down there present, and then Maru might want to wipe that out to counterattack back in with Oracles. But from here, it seems like Neeb wants to switch into Robotech and develop into a more stable game.
A lot of Protosses are. It's not really about that Templar tech anymore. It's, you know, Psystorm not as reliable as potentially shooting out getting a good number of disruptors out. But Maru is going to shut down this proxy. He's going to destroy that Stargate, destroy that pylon. We might not see another Stargate in this game unless it goes super, super, super late, as Neeb definitely has a plan in mind here. Maru feels like he's got enough army to go across the map and do some counter damage. We'll see how this goes for Maru. He's up about 10 army supply, but Neeb is going to have an Immortal shortly, and if he gets wind of this, if he gets a shield battery up, I can see him holding this very, very nicely, but that's a big if, Tasteless.
Yeah, now Neeb is aware that there could be both a drop in the main as well as an attack in the front. It appears so far that with the movement on the map here from Maru that's telegraphing to us as casters there should be just a main attack up here in the front. Now, Neeb has to get enough defense over here. We see SCVs have been pulled. This might be enough to simply bust this. Okay, beautifully done. He does park some of those units there. They're stuck for the time being. The Oracles are going to come in here with this Immortal, and this should drive out at least the bulk of what Maru has.
That Stasis Ward's so nice for Neeb there. Getting rid of these Widow Mines and this Cyclone is actually a big deal. He's got another Stasis Ward ahead of this as well. Maru's Vikings going for the main base here. Might try to land and get some probe kills, or at least try and zone out those Oracles. Maru gets his units back, does not trigger that second Stasis Ward. There he goes! Big cap from that ward there! And Neeb should be able to hold on here if he can get those units back into the natural. The Stalkers are finishing mopping up those Vikings.
Oh!
Ooh.
He takes out that Widow Mine over there by the mineral patches. The stasis is almost worn off. The pylon getting low. These Oracles don't have that much left.
Widow Mine!
Okay, so those Widow Mines do go off. Of course, the Oracles didn't have that much energy, so not a lot of utility they could be given right then. The push continues on here. It looks like Neeb, he's pretty softened up. The Widow Mines begin to burrow down here. Not a lot of foot room here for Neeb.
I don't think so. I think Maru's actually cracked the defense of Neeb here, and he's going to get those Widow Mines a little bit closer to that probe line. Neeb caught between a rock and a hard place here. The Terran hitting from the top end side of the minerals. The Mines hitting the south end. The probes getting tanked and well microed there, but that's just too much. GG! Maru takes game number 1 after a pretty buff proxy there, but manages to actually turn it into a strong mid-game.
That was so crazy. You know, the push from Maru, Neeb had many moments where he mixed that up, but ultimately, Maru got that foothold at the entrance. Neeb did not have a lot of room. He had to use the Nexus for a little bit of cover, tried to get back. Ultimately, he was behind his own minerals there. The probes are getting wiped out. And from there, Maru just closed it out. So even though Neeb, I think, had an interesting response to that proxied barracks, and he did do some damage to the SCVs of Maru there, and Neeb even got an expansion up before Maru did. The combination of units that Maru had managed to push in there and tear down the defenses of Neeb. And once Neeb had to use all of his army to stop that attack and it didn't work, the game was over.
I think a lot of the reason why that went so well for Maru was Neeb had those 2 Oracles out in the map, and I feel like their ability, once they've been shut down from harassing, they still need to see army movements across the map. They're such a fast-flying unit. They're very, very good at scouting. You know, Revelation's a great spell as well. But he was very, very blind to the attack. When he didn't see it until it was on his front doorstep. So there was no shield batteries. Static defense wasn't really there. There wasn't a backup pile on that natural either. So it was very, very tough for Neeb to actually stick that fight at the natural, which he had to. He needed that extra Nexus, and he needed to fight there, and he needed to have all of his ducks in a row, so to speak. But Maru just, you know, caught him with his pants down.
He really did. Let's see what happens in game number 2. We're going into that right now. Again, guys, if you're just now joining us, this is a best of 3, Neeb versus Maru. Right now, Maru with a 1-0 lead.
That's right, one more game as old Maru needs to win here to top Group A. Not to the surprise of many people out there, but Neeb still has a life here. Could potentially be the American Protoss doing it in the end. Speaking of which, in the top right from Ting, the blue Protoss, this is Neeb.
His opponent here in the bottom left, in the red with another proxy, it is Maru!
Oh, Korean TvP.
This is so funny because I was there in Korea when this started happening, and I eventually, as it happened more and more each game, I realized, okay, I just have to start changing my cast. This is actually something you can do. You can even tell your opponent you're going to do some form of a proxy, and they're still not guaranteed to stop it. In old StarCraft's over 20 years old, the whole franchise. If you were to tell somebody you were doing this, they could easily hard counter and stop it. Not anymore. People have gotten too advanced with this style, this technique.
Well, I think, like, even if you look at it's a different matchup, but the grand final between Maru and TY involved a lot of proxies where, like, Maru was proxying a lot. But then you got to see that Maru, the thing that sets him apart from the other players like your Haas's and SOS's who have that, you know, that really solid plan A, is that Maru always has a plan B, and then a C, and then a D. Like, he can actually go into the mid game and he's like, okay, I've been in this situation 10,000 times.
Yeah.
I know how to turn this proxy into a mid game. And then he does. And then he ends up turning it into a really long and wonderful game of StarCraft if they're very closely matched, that is.
When you consider how unique every single proxy situation, failed proxy situation, failed super rush situation, that requires a ton of intuition. And the fact that Maru seems to be very fluid and very comfortable as he plays through those games is really something that's remarkable.
Unfortunately for Neeb, he didn't get that Zealot immediately here, so that's not going to be out to tank this Reaper. Is the Reaper always building another proxy here? Okay, so the factory is not going to be made at home now for Maru. It's going to actually be a lot more of aggressive build.
It's important to note that while these are close together, they're not next to each other. in these proxied locations. And this means that you can scout one of them and still not necessarily know the location of the other one. So here comes that Reaper now. Remember that this build in a lot of ways plays off of what actually happened in game number 1. The concepts and the strategies that Neeb is bearing in mind from game 1. Maru is taking what looks to be the same build and actually altering it quite a bit, so that Neeb has to have quite a different reaction here.
And you guys at home might be thinking, oh, why is this Zealot being made at all? Like, it can't catch this Reaper, it'll never catch this Reaper. Well, the Reaper actually will target fire, well, it hit that Zealot every time you left click with it. So the Reaper actually needs to target fire probes to do damage. And we're seeing Maru follow up here with Marauder and Concussive Shell. So he's going for a very anti-Stalker rush here. This is a pretty committed aggression from Maru. If this doesn't work out, he'll be very far behind. But, oh my god.
This is pretty sick, man.
Is turning into an all-in now. This is going to be pretty hard for Neeb to stop, but he is starting a shield battery, a second one as well. Neeb needs his shield batteries to finish, otherwise he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Okay. With Concussive Shell, watch. He's baited the Stalker out, and now it's not... Oh, it doesn't get that last shot up. If he can just get one more shot up, he can slow the Marauder, the Stalker down. It does not happen. The SCVs come in here to help repair and to help fight if they absolutely have to. And you can see those Marauder shots working on those Stalkers. The batteries, though, are done. Trying to bank a little bit more time here for Neeb.
And with that second battery finishing up, he might have a bit more healing. The pylons go down, depowering those shield batteries, and Neeb is in so much trouble. That Natural's going to take a lot of damage here. Neeb just trying to be patient, trying not to get too far ahead of himself. Chrono boosting that Immortal out as quickly as possible. That's what he needs to fight back. Can he actually keep this Nexus alive as well as fight back against Maru? Maru wants to get some Marauders into that bunker there.
I can't believe this. It looks like Maru might be able to actually take out this Nexus over here. It's 3 Bruised Stalkers on the high ground. A bunker is close to completing. The only answer for this is the Immortal, which is coming out right now.
He has to save this Nexus.
He has to do it. You're right. The Cyclones and the Marauders can be countered by the Immortal. He's got him wedged up there, but the Marauder gets inside of the bunker.
He does, but he has this Immortal, which is so good at cracking that bunker. The SCVs are going down. Can Neeb hold on and fight back here? That Marauder, and as in the bunker doing a lot of damage to these Stalkers, the Immortal is really putting in the hard work, though. This Cyclone is going to go down that next shot. Another Cyclone and a fresh hit point Marauder coming in. The Immortal goes down. Oh no, that Natural's going to die tasteless.
I don't think he can hang on to it for much longer. The probes are being pulled out. Anything to try to buy a little bit of time. It was in the orange, now it's in the red. The probes come forward. The Immortal has just now popped out. It's going to go down the ramp. It's solo. Neeb's going to try to stack a few more probes.
14 hit points. One more volley here for a couple of The Immortal, though, pushes him back.
Oh my god. Okay. There's get it.
He's just out of range. There he goes, gets that last Cyclone. And the Immortal is obviously fantastic against Marauders. It's fantastic against Cyclones. Neeb doesn't actually get that last shot off there.
Oh, and a Manor Mule has landed.
I think that's actually to repair.
Oh no, well, we can say it's both. He's gonna get this. It looks like no matter what. You're right, I'm totally right, Maynard. I'm too excited. That is for the repair. And the Immortal comes out so he can fend this off, but the epic economic advantage that Neeb was trying to get, he will not have, but he's shifting gears very quickly. 2 gates, a Warp Prism are on the way.
That is right. He's going to have to try and make something happen on one base here, unfortunately, for Neeb. And Maru has that Natural finishing up at his main base. We'll turn that into an orbital shortly. And he has a Cloak Banshee follow-up. And I think you'll agree that just a handful of Stalkers, or even just the one at the moment for Neeb, is not super efficient at dealing with Cloak Banshees in your mineral line. And I would love to say mineral lines plural, but Neeb only has the one.
Okay, so this is a really intelligent switch up to try to come in here like this. But note, Maru's already making a Banshee with Cloak. There's nothing that's going to be able to easily detect over here as Neeb tries to push in. And I think Maru's handling this pretty intelligently. He's stayed back. He realizes that really Neeb bled off a lot trying to hold off the attack. So Neeb's going to try to press forward. There is an observer behind this, so he should be able to get over there. But the Banshee doesn't have to necessarily be used to defend. It can be also used to counterattack.
And that's where I get really afraid for Neeb here, is the fact that the Banshee can do so much harassment damage. Even though Neeb's on one base, and normally it's hard to harass one base at the 6.5 minute mark. In this case, it's not too bad for Maru, as he has Cloak on that Banshee coming up. The Warp Prism actually does get a big warp in of Stalkers in the main base. And with that high ground, he's going to ferry in more gateway units here, avoiding the bunker altogether. Neeb going for a big all-in counterattack here to try and finish off Maru, and he has to make it happen with this army right here.
This is a really interesting position because he's just above the mineral patches. He's actually going to deny one gas.
No observer with that army, I don't think.
That's right.
Oh man, Cloak Banshee on one side of the map, the observer not in neither position here. Prism getting really low.
Okay, he's trying to target down that Prism. He's going to continue to use that to juggle. The Cyclones cannot quite target it down any further. He's going to go ahead and back up and get out. The Warp Prism's gone, and so is this rush. GG! Maru takes this with a quick 2-0.
I mean, a lot of people would have predicted that was the case. Neeb was looking so good against TY, but Maru just completely backhanded him in that series, and he will, to no surprise, take Group A first place. Maru, what a series against Neeb, showing off just like Serral against SOS that he is a favorite for this tournament.
So crazy. Such an anticipated match that ended. How long have we even been up here? What is it, like
15 minutes?
15 minutes or something?
Like
that was so quick, but that's one thing about Maru is I don't know if anybody strategically has better early game to navigate the game to an almost impossible position by mid-game. By mid-game, guys.
Well, let's see what the boys have to say about On the Couch. Kalaris, take it away.
That's right. Thank you very much. It seems like we spend more time on this couch than we actually spend in the game overall. That was very, very quick. Welcome back to the Analysis Quartet as we continue things on. And congratulations to Maru. He's actually securing himself already a round of 8 finish in convincing and quick fashion there.
Yeah, a little bit of a repeat of the last time they played in GSL, and there was some very aggressive openings coming out. You know, Maru is so good with that that build as well. The Marauder Cyclone is just very scary, and this is what we've expected from Maru. He was a big favorite to get out of this group in first place, and he's done it without faltering at all.
Yeah, it was pretty one-sided there. You know, I don't feel as bad now about the Serral SOS match, but it felt also to me like Neeb was not that far from getting ahead in these games.
Okay.
Like if things went slightly differently, you know, it felt like he was maybe a little bit greedy, batteries being late, maybe his gates were a little bit late in that first game. That really felt like a game that he could take control of.
Yeah.
And just everything kind of didn't work
Those
for him.
stasis traps, you know, was such a big opportunity to get him back in that hold, and unfortunately he just didn't have the units behind it to hang on. So
Sure.
it's one of those things though where Maru puts so much pressure on, I think it's easy to make those mistakes.
Sure.
Roddy?
I just really feel in game 2 against builds like that, I really feel if your second pylon is on the low ground near the Nexus, and then you scout and you know there is no factory at home, you can already start those batteries immediately if the pylon is already up. But if your second pylon is in the main, then you have to build another pylon and then you build the batteries. And if you go back to where the Stalkers first start fighting the Marauders, now the Stalkers have to retreat so deep into the natural, while if your first battery is already up, you can actually just stand there rather bravely, you can shoot and kite back a bit, and then I think it's a lot easier to buy time for that first power unit, which would be the Immortal.
Yeah.
So I really feel like it just comes down to that pylon being a bit late, and if the pylon is late, the batteries are late, and then everything becomes almost impossible to hold.
We can talk about it a bit more in a second as we can head over to Haji-san, who is with Maru once again.
Thank you very much, James. And I'm here with Maru. Congratulations. I want to jump up into the game directly. Let's talk about game 1. So you walked like on the stasis word twice. Like, were you worried? What was going through your mind? 이제 1세트 경기 때 그 정지장 소음물을 2번이나 밟았어요. 그때 좀 걱정이 되셨나요? 어떠셨어요?
예언자 만화가 없는 걸 보고 있는 건 알았는데 이게 긴장을 해서 그런지 눈에 안 보이더라고요. 그래서 맞고 싶었는데 그래도 뚫어서 다행인 것 같아요.
So actually, I saw these oracles, but I thought they were low in mana and I could go. But I think I was so just nervous, and I said like, but it went quite well, so I'm happy about it. And what about so you seem to proxy a lot. So why is there a special reason for that? 그러니까 약간 경기마다 전진병을 많이 하시는데 특별한 이유가 있나요?
이게 토스전한테 좀 후반을 가면은 테란이 좀 안 좋은 것 같아서 전진 벼락을 많이 하는데 저는 솔직히 안 해도 자신 있어가지고 그냥 좀 더 쉽게 이기려고 하는 것 같아요.
So I think in a PVT matchup, the late the game goes, it becomes harder for Terran. That's why I play proxy. But even if I didn't do that, I'm pretty confident. But I want to finish the game fast. That's why I do it. So I'm getting curious. So so now you're advancing to the round of 8. How do you feel? 이제 8강에 올라가셨는데 어떠신가요?
일단 이렇게 승자조로 올라갈 줄 몰라가지고 솔직히 오기 전에 긴장을 좀 많이 했는데 이렇게 좀 쉽게 올라간 감이 있어가지고 좋은 것 같아요.
So I really didn't expect to play on the winners match to qualify today. So I'm pretty happy about this easy qualification. And so so you didn't expect at all that this series would be that fast. 이번 경기가 이렇게 빨리 끝날 줄 진짜 몰랐던 거예요?
솔직히 전진 병영을 할 생각이 없었거든요, 처음에는. 근데 닙 선수 대처를 보니까 해도 이길 수 있을 것 같아서 제가 생각하기에는 제 전진 병영이 통하는 최적의 사이즈라서 그냥 했던 것 같아서 솔직히 예상은 못했는데 생각보다 빨리 끝난 것 같아요.
Yeah, so I didn't expect it because first I didn't want to do the proxy, but then I saw Neeb playing. I was like, hey, it's just gonna work. So that's what I did, and it went that fast. Well, congratulations again, and best of luck for the next round. And back to you, James.
Thank you very much, of course. And congratulations, of course, to Maru as well. Not only being able to take into the round of 8, but also bagging himself $21,000 guaranteed for being able to get to that spot alone. The money starts to really ramp up when it comes to the global finals.
I just want to do the Jeff thing here. He said he didn't expect to be playing in the winners match today. So you're going to tell me that Maru, who won 3 GSL Codesses in a row, thought he's like, you know what? Lambo first round, I don't think I can do it, but I hope to squeeze by on Sunday.
I think it's something to do with that chair that Roddy's in, but go on.
It can't be that. Because I started thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh, if he didn't think he was playing in it, he simply thought that that match was played on a different day.
Ah, that's possible, yeah.
So he was like, oh, I'm just playing Lambo today.
Yeah.
And then you're like, bring your keyboard up, you're playing Neeb. He's like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to proxy.
In that case, let's make it very quick, yeah.
But actually, I want to bring it back to the first game that we did actually have, which was actually Neeb also going for the proxy Stargate. What did you make of the choice strategy going into that first game?
Like, on one hand, I kind of like it to obviously fight fire with fire to that regard, where it's like, you know what, I'll just defend at home, and then often Terrans just don't have anything at home, so then the Oracle can do an insane amount of damage. But the one reason why I don't like it, and it doesn't even matter how it played out in the end, it's just that I don't think you want to play those kind of games with Maru. I think you went over that before as well. It's like, don't try to like out multitask you know, and make it crazy and hectic, because that's where Maru is going to fall apart, because he never falls apart. So I think it's better to keep games a little bit straightforward and focus on battles on one screen rather than trying to create chaos, because if there's anybody that thrives in chaos, it's obviously the man that won 3 GSL Codas in a row.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's so well said, Roddy. Like, he does create these chaotic situations, and he has the best micro and multitasking, so he wins them. You can't play Maru's game. That's not the way to beat him. For certain, we know that. That's a fact. Okay, because everyone loses to him because he forces those situations. So you have to force him into something else.
Yeah.
You know, fight him on one front. It's a great tip you've given.
I think the interesting thing for me about this whole dynamic that Maru creates in this matchup specifically with these proxy builds is it's so scary. When do you go for your Nexus at the natural? Because you know there's a barracks on the map, but where's the factory? And when do you identify that? And I think the proxy Stargate was kind of a way of saying, look, I'm not going to risk taking the Nexus. Last time I did this, he ran in with Marauders and Cyclones and got me. But the Oracles didn't find enough damage. He got the great stasis traps, didn't have the units to reinforce it. So it was one of those things where it was like, I like the plan, it just didn't come together. And that's where, of course, why I definitely agree with you, Roddy, that it's hard to do that against Maru. He's going to make it so tough for you, man.
And I still think, like, fear is obviously never the right approach, right, for a best of 3. You got to believe in yourself. And I think some of the Korean protesters over the last few months have shown us that if you make some adjustments, if you build your batteries and pylons a little bit faster, or you just analyze it, because even if the barracks is proxied, what's going to kill your probe on the other side of the map? Technically nothing, right? So that probe can always stay there, and then that probe can identify whether or not there is a factory, and then unless there's a double factory, but that just doesn't happen, and even then the timings are going to be off. So I still prefer the fast expand builds for Protoss. Let them proxy, just try